Space, the final frontier. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
We are recording. All right. So yes, I am Sotalo, the creator/curator of the Virtual Furry Museum. I've been watching artists in the fandom since 2004. I've been active since 2020. I'm an artist, a historian. I even said anthropologist. Someone recommended calling myself an ethnologist, but it kind of feels strange to talk about furries as an ethnicity. But yeah, that's kind of a lot of the work that I do. I cover a lot of our fandom subcultures, a lot of our fandom artists, a lot of different various people. I think one of those people is actually in this room right now. Hello, nice, woo! We're seeing the dog right now, the green dog in the flesh. I am a VR chat player, world creator, community leader, and a big furry/VR advocate. I've collected stories from thousands of furries. This is something that I've heard, oh, it's just AI. How does AI know these stories? There's a lot of stories that people are afraid to tell in public. They tell me. And then I collect and gather all those stories, and I can tell people just how important these different subcultures and aspects are to them. But this is not just about me, this is about VR. So in this presentation together, we will learn social VR groups, events, and places. We'll learn about the tech. We will learn direct quotes from community leaders, creators, and members. We will also get to see some fur science data with Dr. Courtney Nuka Plante, providing some assistance for that, and some social research from Dr. Ruth Diaz, who provided a lot of assistance with that, actually. So just as a show of hands, how many people have been in VR? Woo! Okay, so almost everyone, there's a few. How many people have not been in VR? Okay, one person. All right, so most of you kind of know then a little bit about VR, but hopefully there's some things in here that you're going to learn. If you want me to speak louder or soft, I like to be loud, so I'm perfect, okay. I can also talk like this if you prefer. No? Okay, we'll just do it the normal way then. There are 136 slides in this presentation. It's the one rule that I ask for everyone in the Virtual Furry Museum, please, for the love of God, be respectful of all the people that are being presented here. They were so kind and gracious enough to share with me their stories. I'm sharing with you their stories. Not all of the opinions in here are necessarily reflected on me, but they are respective of the people who gave those opinions, and it is good to learn from other people, even if we don't necessarily agree. So please be respectful to everyone and save all your questions for the very end. Let's get started. By the way, try to make your brain a little squishy, because I'm going to go through like a ton of things, and you're going to see so many things. So, virtual reality has many frontiers. Let's go into some of them. This is VR Chat, one of the most popular platforms for socializing in VR. You can actually enter the game and find many, many people to meet. And I even brought right here my headset. This is the actual headset that Sotalo uses. It's a Quest 3. Very nice and comfortable. It fits well on your face. And I even brought my motion trackers. Woo! So yeah, these are Vive motion trackers. These are the ultimates. There's literally just this little hockey puck thing that you can attach to your body, and then you can actually move around. And I should have brought my controllers. I forgot to do that. But you also have some controllers you can just wave around, and the controllers know the position of your hands. So if you let go of a button, they know that you're opening your fist. And if you close your fist, it'll know that too. There's a lot of soft buttons that can read the different positions of your fingers, and you don't need to track every single finger. Not all controllers do that, but there are some that do. So now that we kind of know like how VR is, like just the fact that the technology exists, what do people really think about it? Well, I'm going to start off strong. How about the guy who made the fandom? Yeah. How about the person who co-founded the very first anime fan club in all of America? How about the guy who co-directed Conference 0 through 10? That guy, his name is Sylys Sable, Mark Merlino. He was in the fandom documentary by Ash Coyote, and I was very lucky to have called him a great friend the last year of his life. Actually, I say he considered me to be his best friend the last year of his life. We were talking about furries day in and day out, and he loved VR chat. He told me this quote: VR is the furmy that never ends, and everyone is in fursuit. So how many people think we had a very big attendance this convention? Yeah, not a lot. Well, guess what? The very first furry convention ever had only 60 people. And there weren't any panels, there were discussion groups. So people would just sit at a table, talk about discussion groups, and there were not that many people at a discussion group, maybe like 5. Well, in VR chat, you can have 80 people in one instance. And there are multiple instances on Friday night, Nice will tell you, many clubs and DJs performing, and people are going and dancing, people are partying, having a great time. Whenever Furality does anything, it is massive. But it's not just the big impressive things. People just go in VR and hang out with their friends all the time. So it's it is a constant social platform, a constant a place for furries to meet all over the world, and it never, ever ends. Oh, by the way, everyone has a furry avatar there. So here's a testimonial, an interesting one that I think would be interesting to start with. My daughter is very much interested in being a furry, so I introduced her to being a furry on VR chat this evening. I started by helping her select an avatar in FurHub, and she settled on a deer avatar. So this right here, FurHub, you can walk in. There's plenty of different avatars on the walls. You can select one and become that avatar. And if you really like it, you want to get your colors on that model, you can find someone who's willing to do a recolor, and you can, of course, purchase the avatar model itself. So you get the model, you get it's already rigged, it's already set up. All you have to do is just get a new color on it, and then it's a very simple process from there to become your fursona. If you want to make one from scratch, you can. It's a little bit more technically challenging. It's for 3D creators and avatar creators. That is what they do. So the testimonial continues. I took her, this is all in the same night, by the way. I took her to the Virtual Furry Museum, made by yours truly. That is such a beautiful space, it always makes me cry. The one on the left, the purple dragon, is the BaselTheDragon, who's giving the testimonial, and next to them is their daughter, who just discovered furry for the very first time this way. We ended the night by doing karaoke. So she really loved it. It was a neat experience for both of us. I'm happy to have been a part of her introduction instead of unleashing another obnoxious teen into VR chat. So yeah, those of you who played VR chat, how many people have played it and they know exactly what he's talking about? Okay. So if you go into a public lobby, you'd have no idea what you're doing, you just walk in, you're gonna have some of the toxicity of the well, not the fandom so much, but just online, trolls and things. But and some people come in for 1 second in VR chat and they think that's all it is. No. VR chat is filled with amazing communities, amazing friends, amazing people. You just have to find the right people and the right communities, the right places to go, and you will be able to go there and enjoy it yourself. I did briefly take her to watch other furs sing in karaoke, and that was so fun for her. I'm a firm believer that adults deserve their own spaces, so we only stayed until a reasonable bedtime for her. Again, from BaselTheDragon. And that is a picture of Red Rail Wolf rocking out at the Twisted Whisker during karaoke night. There are many events, communities, and places in VR. This right here, the Freelancer's Castle by Kuro Xenos. I was actually lucky enough to have met this very small Digimon group called Digimon Freelancers. And there are some pretty incredible people in that group too. One of them actually made a vending machine of various community members. And people can go click a button and get a soda with their persona on the soda. So yeah, this is like a community, someone's a world creator, different people made different avatars, and it's all run, the drawings were made by Chico Sticks, by the way. It's important for me to mention that. And the group leader, right there, is Alephmon on the left down there. And he said about VR, for us Digi freelancers, VR enhances our lore as a group, materializing it into an immersive world that we can build together and collaborate. But more than that, it connects us to our true selves, lifting the weight of depression and anxiety imposed on us. We come together from different paths and walks of life to get to know each other, and it improves us even more than we could ever expect. VR has become our home. And this is Alephmon, co-leader of Digimon Freelancers. He is actually from, take a guess which country? Argentina. So it's actually connecting people all around the world, even places where it's a little more difficult to find furries. People can just hop in the VR headset at any time and immediately be in a wonderful community. There's also some interesting worlds over there. I was very lucky enough. How many people flew in today? No? No one flew? I flew in. Well, in VR chat, there's actually an interesting place called QH Bakuma International Airport by hdorriker. This is a massive, massive airport world, but there's always something a little bit off the further you go into it. And at one point, it even becomes, what would you call that? Eurobeat, super Eurobeat, like crazy, wild. Those of you who know. If you don't know, you got to go in the world and try to find it for yourself. But I met with the creator, and he said about this world, I wanted to capture the nostalgia and wonder of travel in a fully realized world that feels like a place with a capital P. The goal was for this to be something that you have to be there to see, which is something that VR is uniquely suited to. I want players to feel as though they were dropped into another world with no exposition, instantly lost in a place that is familiar enough to understand, different enough to be explorable. I didn't want it to feel like a game with an airport theme, but rather just an airport into which players may bring or build their own stories and games. It's a rather fascinating place. So this is hdorriker, the world creator of QH Bakuma International Airport. You can feel free to come in.
I'm just speaking in. I can't say it. I've more stuff.
All right. So for everyone who doesn't know, that's Shy Matsy right there. He's also in the Virtual Furry Museum. You can go see him as well. And yeah, if you like to meet some of the people here, if you can meet them in VR. Speaking of which, Shy Matsy, you came at the perfect time. So this is actually, funnily enough, the Tickle Force Museum tour. It's a group that is 50% European and American, and actually, surprisingly, the kindest, most respectful community that has ever toured the museum. So there are entire communities based around things that we don't even know or understand. Personally, I do know it a little bit, but yeah, all sorts of different groups come in, tour the museum, and do wonderful things. And Shy Matsy is there, even representing himself and talking about himself with this entire group. So here, did you take the picture?
Yeah, they took a picture.
All right, good. The art of light and shading at Ferality Silva. I gave a panel at Ferality. So this panel right here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 or 10 people in it. I gave a panel that was streamed to over 4,000 at Ferality. Many people can come into various instances like this, and I'm being recorded, and that the record is being streamed live to all those instances at the same time. So everyone was able to hear the panel and hear me speak, and people can come to a virtual convention, a furry convention in VR. So yeah, there's other things too. This is actually a virtual park by MyroP. He kind of recreated a little bit of a roller coaster tycoon-like experience in VR chat. And that's the thing, people can program games in here. And you can make things, and what's fun about this is you can build a park together with your friends. Everyone has the ability to create. Everyone has the ability to explore and meet new people. Myro's a very good friend of mine. He actually was a mentor for the Virtual Furry Museum and helped me come into Unity. He made some of the greatest games in VR chat, like the Light Cycles Arena, and more recently Bomberman. But he said, when I put on a VR headset for the first time, I was immediately astonished by how immersive it is. It kind of ruined the gaming experience for everything else, honestly. Making games on such a platform is definitely a challenge, mostly related to UX. How can we make games that are easy to use without breaking the immersion? How can we teach gestures to the player? It is a really interesting platform to work on. And that is MyroP, a French furry who has an absolutely phenomenal body of work and worlds created. So he is a game creator in VR chat, a mod and a helper for Udon VR, and a mentor for me at the Virtual Furry Museum. Here's a group having a movie night at Popcorn Palace. If you notice, everyone in the group is wearing the same avatar. So one way that you can find a community very easily, once you find an avatar, many of those creators have their own communities dedicated to that avatar. And if you've been in VR chat long enough, you know the fox boxes are kind of gremlins, right? And then the Tatums are kind of, well, they're Tatums, right? And then Nardo dragons, well, they got their own quirks too. And the Shibas, oh, they definitely have quirks for sure. So every avatar comes, I don't want to say comes with a personality, but different people kind of coalesce around what they're able to do and express within that avatar. And it kind of brings a lot of different people together who have a similar kind of personality, similar vibe. Great way to be able to meet new people. So here's the Foxbox brothers having a karaoke night in Karaoke in Sync. The world was made by C Major 7. And one of the leaders, actually, I'm sorry, there's one more slide. Beans at Play is a group where a whole bunch of furries can get together and play games every Monday night. This was actually their Christmas party in 2024. It was held in a world called Christmas Town by VRGen. There are many, many people here. I am there. You can see me pointing to...
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I'm Gator Boy. Wah. And in the middle, the red fox right there is Roochi, yes. Roochi Lexico. So Roochi is the podcast founder for What It's Worth. He is also a Foxbox Brothers event organizer and the founder for Beans at Play. He said, I understand it's difficult for people to navigate the furry community in a virtual environment. The first time I logged into VR chat, I jumped into a public world and didn't know what I was getting myself into. I logged off and didn't put on my headset until a good friend of mine made my persona and invited me to explore worlds with them. I love playing games in VR and wanted to play more often with my friends. I ignored an event with my local friends which became a social group called Beans at Play, or BAP for short. I don't know if I should tell you this, but the original name was Furries at Play. Think about that for a moment. Or maybe not. So moving on, there are some beautiful, beautiful scenes in VR chat, like this world, Snow Reverie Island by Lyra VRC. There's amazing worlds created by so many different people. And there are different communities that just go around from world to world and hop around so that you can meet new people and find new places. This right here is 7-Eleven Taiwan by Dozing Cat, another one of my friends, another artist in the museum. And this community, it goes around from place to place, jumping around, hopping worlds. But the funny thing is, this is what a 7-Eleven genuinely looks like, even with the same kind of product labels. So when you're going in VR chat, you can go to these amazing, magnificent, fantastical places, or you can just go to a 7-Eleven. But what's interesting is all the food in here is definitely not what you were expecting for like an American 7-Eleven. There's so much ramen in there and so much interesting teas and things. I actually, a sample right here lives in Taiwan and explained to me and showed me all of these different items and said that milk is very expensive to get in Taiwan. So anything with milk is going to be much more lucrative and a much higher priced product. We don't really see milk as something that is very expensive, but it's kind of interesting to see those options shown here. And this right here is a beautiful pier at night. This is kind of how I ended that night. The Pier Cafe by Mao. And the leader for this community that hops world to world, they said, when creators visit worlds, they pick apart everything they see and often get blinded by what's in front of them. We visit worlds to appreciate what they are and experience them as the creator intended. That is just a paraphrase from what he said. And this world is called Filth, toilet scene. And apparently it is the toilet scene from a movie called Filth. And that's literally what it is. It's a toilet, it is a stall, and some tile floors. And that is it. That's the entire world. There were about like 40 people here visiting a toilet. He actually told me what he likes to do is stand back a little bit and see how people react. You have some people going and placing stickers and joking about the toilet being there. You have other people breaking off into groups. You've got so many different things. Oh, take care, guys. See ya. So we have, and then there's just so many people socializing, and he likes to see how people react when they first come to a world like this. So there's the amazing, and then there's the mundane, and then there's the absurd. Peter Pipetter is a VR enthusiast and explorer. He said, it's incredibly lovely, and I'm happy to be a part of this community. Seeing people's imaginations, dreams, and ambitions, it's really nice. He took me to this beautiful place, which is a balloon, and on top of it, the most beautiful skybox, the most beautiful skies you've ever seen. But the experiences don't end here. We can actually move on to another VR platform for a little bit called Resonite. And this one was actually made by a furry. So that is me. I'm studying a little bit about the ABDL community, and I had a friend bring me in here to learn a little bit more. Someone just gave me a Rambly avatar and he stuck a diaper on it. And I was able to just go in and see kind of what they do. Turns out, not much, but they do like to just keep things chill, and they like to go on a platform that is a little more accepting for them. There are some things that VRChat did that this community doesn't like in the past. So they were able to find another VR space for them that was made by a furry who is more tolerant and accepting. So it's really, really great that we have some furry communities that can get together and make places and communities like this. Frooxius said, I've observed a phenomenon that I like to call creative resonance. The furry community is full of creative and skilled people. Some excel in art, some are more technical. With the ability to collaborate in real time, those skills are elevated to the next level. People complement each other, bounce ideas off each other, which gives birth to some really cool, unique creations. My goal with Resonite is to give everyone as much power in those aspects as I can. And that is Frooxius, the former Neos VR programmer, the current Resonite creator. So Frooxius, the platform in Resonite is definitely different from VRChat. Who has played Resonite before? Okay, a few of you have. Yeah, it is very different. So in VRChat, you use the professional tools to make something imported into the game. In Resonite, you put everything into the game, and then you make it in the game, you put your avatar in the game, you put everything in the game, you can put pictures in the game, and then share it with everyone, and then everything happens in the game. So here are the winners of MMC 2024, that is the Metaverse Maker competition, and they won it for world creation. JackTheFoxOtter and Ukulop are pictured here working together on a global inventory system for their new game jam, Metaverse Maker Competition 2025. They have 1 month to make something from scratch, no specific scene. So JackTheFoxOtter said it's unrestricted creativity. When you have an idea and you're with your friends, you can just collaborate and execute it on the spot. So he's showing me this board right here that a whole bunch of people were able to just post pictures on. People were able to draw in like a pen. There were a lot of people typing in messages and putting up post-it notes. So it's like collaborating in real time in a virtual space. And people can do that, again, over the internet, all over the world, and be together in the same room. Another experience from Resonite is Shininghero. He said, Resonite is ADHD's best friend and worst nightmare. There's so much that you can do in Resonite. It gives you so much to tinker with, but then you can get almost lost in the number of things that you can do and number of things you can make. So it ends up becoming a time sink for a lot of people. But I like to focus a little more on the communities, though, not just technically what can be done, because it is interesting to see people make communities using these programs. So Nuki right here is a support group, the support group center leader and creator. She has a whole entire group schedule set up here for so many different people. And some of those groups include a general support group, a transgender, gender transition groups, people who have physical or non-mental disabilities, multiple identity disorders, various associative identities disorders, and then all sorts of various planned groups for neurodivergence and autism. So it's connecting a lot of different people together. And she said, when you go to a support group in a church or a government building, those rooms are primarily used for other purposes. In a virtual world, we can have our own building. We can add whatever we need. And it's so accessible. I have a disability, so I can't go to those places, but I can go here without leaving my bed. We have people from remote areas or niche groups who wouldn't be able to find one locally. And that's again from Nuki, the support group center leader and creator. Here are some of the posters that she put in her world. Everyone is deserving of love. Absolutely a great message. This too shall pass. You are not responsible for the actions of others. I think that's a very important message too that people need to hear. And my personal favorite, although I might be a little biased, being the museum creator, people need art in their houses. They don't need Bed Bath & Beyond dentist office art. They need weird stuff. So yeah, that I think is that's funny, but it's also a great sentiment. We should be unafraid to be who we are, and it is nice that people are able to do that. In VR, I've seen that in more than any other place I've been to. And of course, we already talked about furality, being able to go to a place, a wonderful place, and meet new people at a furry convention virtually. The funny thing is, these two people are actually here. Well, no, Hiyu. My apologies, one of these people is here. The other one, Hiyu, is in Sweden, and he was in that last film. Many of you who had been to the last panel saw the reality of hope. And Hiyu has something to say about that, but I'll hold off until a little bit later to get to him. So here's Furality Umbra, celebrating 21,000 attendees. It is the most attended furry convention in the world. And every year, they break the record. It is growing so fast and so large, so wonderfully. And actually, how about we hear what Hiyu has to say about VR? He said, VR is the truest example of a land where you can walk within people's imaginations, where skills can be learned, friendships can be made, and lives can be saved. I get to live the dream I always had. And even more than that, I get to live. Strapping a screen to your face won't be for everyone, but I personally have so much to thank it for. This is Hiyu, the world builder of Furality Online Experience, the Avalican Meetup, and FurHub. He's also the Longboy and Spiravali avatar creator, so he's done quite a bit. Okay, so there are some pros and cons to VR overall. Big pro, it's accessible. A lot of people can get into it. It is a rather enriching experience. Cons, there are some technical difficulties. It is technology, after all. Just like any other technology, that runs into its own issues. And the experience doesn't include the sense of smell. Hey, Viridis, hello.
Sorry, we got caught up.
That's all right. Everyone, this is Viridis. A few slides ago, I showed them in this presentation.
That's me.
Yes, that is you. Hey, woo, we got FBT in here.
Sorry I'm a little bit late.
That's all right.
A lot of people bought the book.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I will too.
Cool.
But yeah, so this is Ferality Aqua. Coming back to this slide again, just due to our new guest. Viridis was actually here. I think was this your first world that you entered in VR?
That was the first time I'd entered Ferality Aqua. Every other world that I've been in was more just like kind of hangout worlds, not the big grandeur of, Ferality.
There are more.
I know.
There are
I
more.
went to Umbra. I went to Luma.
Silva?
So to be clear, yes.
No, I was just asking for Ali Silva.
Oh,
I think I popped into the Legends for a little bit. Having Hiyu kind of guide me through how it all worked was a really good way to see behind the scenes. I don't know. It's all just so grand and beautiful. You just kind of lose yourself for a little bit.
amazing. Thank you for sharing. So yes, Viridis is new to VR, and what a better person to introduce VR than someone who's responsible for some of the most beautiful worlds and some of the biggest communities and events. I already said what Hiyu said, but I think I'll repeat it for the new guest in the room. VR is the truest example of a land where you can walk within people's imaginations, where skills can be learned, friendships can be made, and lives can be saved. I get to live the dream I always had, and even more than that, I get to live. Strapping a screen to your face won't be for everyone, but I personally have so much to thank it for. So, moving on. Yes, let's talk about the next one. It is affordable to enter VR, but it's expensive to really fully enjoy it. So let's talk about the technology. Woo! Who in here loves technology? Okay, who in here hates technology? Who in here is both? Who in here is neither? Who isn't raising their hand? All right. So if you're on a budget, $300 brand new gets you a MetaQuest 3S. It is a little bit of an older hardware, but it gets you in VR and you can see things. And then a little bit more pricey, a MetaQuest 3 gets you a little bit more of a powerful headset. I think it's a little bit more of a more comfortable experience. You have a lighter pancake lenses, so it's much smaller and easier to fit on your face. And these are basically the leading headsets right now. But that's not the only headsets right now. If you have any questions, I recommend we save to the end just because we have so many slides. But yes, so if you want to have proper tracking, like arm and leg tracking, and I can actually show and demonstrate just a little bit. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, I swear, but I'm gonna walk right out just to show you how easy this is. All right. So I've got 2 of the foot trackers and 1 belt. So I'm going to set my thing down and I'm going to put the belt on. Yep. All right, and I'm going to put the foot tracker. turn it on, I can remove this, and I have my controllers in my hand. I just do a little waving motion like this, and it's calibrated. And then if everything works, and you know how technology always works all the time, 100%, you are able to move your arms and legs around in VR, and it knows pretty much everything that you're doing. If you want to go more expensive with it, like you want to do the chicken dance, well, it knows where your hands are. It knows your hands are doing this, but it doesn't know what your elbows are doing. So then people will get other trackers to attach to their elbows and their knees so they can have even more full fluid motion. And dancers will sometimes do that, and actors as well, to capture a more live, lifelike, real performance. Hiyu, if you saw that movie, you could see his mouth moving and his eyes closing independently one at a time. He has a special headset that has eye and facial tracking. So the more money you spend and the better headsets you can get, you can find headsets that do amazing things. Up there, I just have the Big Screen Beyond 2, which hasn't released yet, but you can pre-order it for $1,200, and it includes eye tracking at that price. One of the most popular tracking methods is not the ultimate tracker that I'm showing you here. It's actually an older model. Just the Vive trackers, the 3.0s, and the base stations. You actually set up a physical, well, more than one base station around your room, and it tracks the location of the device. It kind of has some prongs sticking out, and as long as it can see in the cameras where the device is, it will never completely lose the tracking. It'll always have a home to come back to. That is extremely accurate, and these trackers are also very darn accurate, down to 1 centimeter. There are some technical issues with the tracking, but a lot of people find interesting ways to get around those issues, fix them, and have a very good experience. So it doesn't stop there. Oh, and this is something really nutty. $6,000 gets you a glove that when you hold a water bottle in VR, it actually feels like you're holding a water bottle. It'll stop your hand from closing. If you have a ball, you can put your fingers around the ball and it'll stop your finger. You can feel like there's a ball there. There's a lot of interesting new technologies being developed, and one of the interesting things that VR chat does support is haptic vest. So if someone rubs your back and tries to give you a massage, you can feel their hand like going down your back. How you feel that, it could either just be a vibration or it could be something that presses in. And VR chat actually does support that technology today. So technology is pretty interesting, but we're let's focus on the costs, because that's going to be kind of a barrier for a lot of people. If you have a desktop, a PC, and you don't want VR, well, guess what? You can get in VR chat. If you don't have a PC at all and you want to get in VR, you just get one of these and you can get in VR chat. But here's the problem. How many of you have seen the Big Bang Theory? That episode of Sheldon Cooper deciding he doesn't want to be there physically, he wants to be there virtually, with an iPad rolling around a robot. While everyone is there in real life, talking, communicating, seeing each other, he is just kind of viewing everything through a screen. That is the experience that desktop gives you. You can go in, you can make friends, you can enjoy and be a wonderful part of the community, but you're not really going to be immersed in the community. You're not going to be immersed in the world. And then the more expensive you go, the closer and closer and closer VR comes to actually mimicking true reality. The more immersed you become, and the more you can do, and the more of yourself brings into the experience, and the more sensations you get out of it. Also, one more thing to mention. If you just get a headset by itself, standalone, all the hardware is running off this headset. So there are some worlds, some avatars that are a little bit too heavy for this thing, and it's going to be a lot more difficult. Yeah, no, that's something that's coming up later on. So for right here, different full body tracking comparisons. I already talked a little bit about that, and I am going a little over time. But I will have the slides available on, I'm going to make a video presentation on this, so the slides will be made available later on. But right now, you guys are getting it firsthand. So comfort. How many of you think, well, first of all, how many of you have been in VR? Okay, there are some new people. Okay, one person shaking your hand. Okay, how many people would say VR is a comfortable experience? Yeah, so you're kind of, okay, some people are kind of waving their hands, it's maybe, but for the most part, it kind of is. A lot more than I think most people realize. So with the Quest 3, you can wear your glasses with this, or you can just get prescription lenses put into the headset for $50. My previous headset had prescription lenses. I am going to get a new prescription and get the lenses made, so I don't even need my glasses in here. But I'm just going to prove to you that I can stick this on my glasses and it's totally fine. Just give me 1 second.
Ready for the crunch and go.
Glass on glass.
Ta-da! So yeah, if my glasses aren't being squished, there's actually plenty of room in between my glasses and my face. It is not squeezing anything against my face. Again, the Quest 3, absolutely phenomenal piece of hardware. Yes?
I remember trying on a Quest for 3 and it was so heavy, like that it kept falling. I have I have like a child size head. But like it was so heavy it kept like falling off and I couldn't get this straight, like anything to fit it.
Okay, so the Quest 3 was so heavy and your head was so small that you weren't able to get it to fit. There is some adjustments on the straps. Were you able to adjust it at all?
Yeah,
Or?
I went on like the tightest setting and it just still kept falling.
I can make a suggestion on that.
Yes?
So I use Quest Pro, but when I had a Quest 2, I bought a hard strap instead of the soft one. The hard strap works a lot better, but then I put a battery bank on the back. I got like a pouch with a battery bank.
That would work.
So the thing about it is that with a headset, you don't want the balance to be in the center of the headset. You actually want the balance to be like, if you were to draw a line through it, it should go down the center of your neck.
Yeah.
So it should be further back. And all these headsets don't have any weight in the back.
Yeah.
By adding the battery back there,
I literally
So-
tried
that back.
for like a week.
Yeah.
To try it. I was like, and then my friend was like, wanted to buy one, and I was like, it won't fit on my head.
So I'll just because we have so much in the presentation to go through, I am going to ask questions saved for the end because I don't know how much time I'll be able to give through this. But there are other alternatives. You can actually remove this and put on a different strap if you like. So, and this is not the only headset on the market. This is just the one that I have with me, the one that I have the most experience with. Well, the Quest 2 I have the most experience with, but this is the one I use right now every single day. So, yeah, I took it off, and now with one hand, okay, it's snapped back into place. So yeah, you can wear it with glasses. You also don't need cables. You can plug this right into an 18-watt adapter or like a 20-watt adapter, but at least 18 watts, you will have endless streaming to this. And it will never run out of battery because it is constantly charging and as you're playing. And if you just don't happen to have any sort of charge with you, you can use a portable battery or anything that can plug into USB-C. And the data goes through Wi-Fi. So as long as you have a good, clear connection to Wi-Fi, you are fine. You don't have to worry about having a big, long cable like before. But if you do like having a hard cable, you can, but why would you do that? The AirLink, SteamLink, there's all sorts of various options for connections that are much better. Virtual desktop, much better. And you don't need base stations with this. Okay, so VR legs, motion sickness. Yeah, I'm sure some of you, when you first got into VR, you had motion sickness. If you feel motion sick, don't push through it. The motion sickness will diminish over time, but not all at once. I made the mistake of thinking I can just plow through it when I started feeling sick. That was not a very pleasant experience for me. It just got worse. But then when I played more and more, after about, I can't remember if it was a week or a month, I completely just didn't feel sick at all. And I was able to be in VR all day, all night, and it was fine. So that is your VR legs. Okay, so pros and cons. We actually have one pro and one con that are both the same thing. So what do you think that is? It is the biggest one. It is the biggest reason people use VR, but it is both a pro, it is also a con.
Furries.
30?
Furries.
Furries. Okay.
Furries.
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head, but I wrote down the people. The people.
Same thing.
Virtual reality, that's what VR means. But the people are real. And this is another quote that I come back to Sylys from. Furries are people, and people are fallible. He didn't try to assume or pretend that the furry fandom was filled with people who are much better than any other. He understood that people make mistakes, and it wasn't really so much a problem with the fandom. It's just people and how people are. So for the rest of the presentation, I think it would be interesting, rather than just focusing on technology and all the different communities that are in VR, well, let's try to understand furries and people. Here's an interesting chart from Fur Science. They asked furries, would you want a furry as, and then they listed from left all these different things, and people can rate 1 to 7. The lowest score, which is what people do not want a furry as, is president. People do not want a furry president or governor. They don't want a furry to be their spiritual advisor. But then at the other end of the spectrum, people really would like a furry as a roommate or a neighbor, or especially someone that they're dating. But most importantly, furries want a close friend. So furries desire personal relationships, and belonging is the #1 motivator for this. 50% of furries' friends are other furries. Again, all data from Fur Science. Also, I spoke with Dr. Nuka, and he said he was surprised that I came to that conclusion, because they were trying to see what the stereotypes were in the fandom, how they stereotyped and viewed other furries. But then he started to realize, wait a minute, we have all this data that's telling us what they want someone to be furry. What kind of person do they want furries to be? So, yeah, I have an interesting chart about what furries are. Furries are weird. Look around. Furries are neurodiverse. About 60% of the fandom reported having neurodivergence. 20% said they were unsure. Another 20% said, no, I'm not neurodivergent whatsoever. I just like fuzzy animals and warm, cuddly hugs. Socially awkward? Well, 60% of furries were bullied in school and have anxiety over acceptance. Sexually diverse, 80% of the fandom, more than 80% of the fandom, LGBTQIA. 90% have viewed NSFW art. Actually, I think that number is 94% when I heard it from Dr. Nuka. So the #1 attributor to furries is actually having a fursona. 95% of all furries have a fursona. 94% have viewed porn. So furries are open. They are rated, people who rated themselves as more furry rated themselves of having greater openness and greater, they're just more open to new experiences. And it's also very international. There are over 40 countries that host in-person furry conventions. In virtual reality, that number is much bigger. So when we put what furries are on the left-hand side, we look on the right-hand side, let's change it to what furries like. So NSFW furry art, cute expressive characters, technically oriented careers and hobbies, close personal relationships, like LGBTQIA partnership included, enriching experiences and accepting communities. And when you connect the dots, you start to realize all the things that furries love helps who and what furries are. I wrote at the bottom, prejudice is the enemy and socializing is the cure. This fandom does help a lot of people in more ways than we could possibly imagine, and I am going to show you some of those ways. But there's just one small problem.
Potatoes.
Well, even bigger than that, furries are socially awkward. Yes. So, of all the things that I listed, it keeps coming back to neurodivergence. A lot of the awkwardness, a lot of the, including there's a link between people who are neurodiverse and people who are sexually diverse. There's a link between neurodivergence and openness. There's a link between, and like people who are neurodivergent tend to be considered weird by neurotypical people. So it all nestles under this one topic. Now, not all furries are neurodivergent, but the fandom helps neurodivergent people tremendously. So I want to help people. I want to help furries try to like improve their experience in VR. I'm sure, how many people have had a negative experience in VR? At least, okay. How many people would say that VR is mostly...
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Okay. For those of you who are watching this on the video, the whole room is laughing and raising their hand. So, yeah, there are some issues, but so let's see if we can take, I wanted to make like a game guide, right? Like this is gonna help you win and succeed at VR chat. Well, hopefully at the very least, it'll make your experience a little bit better. And I wanna start with the definition of cool in the most educational way possible. Your results may vary. So it was written by me with plenty of assistance from Dr. Ruth Diaz. She is Hiyu, by the way. I'll get more into her later and what she said and what she felt. So here is a little exercise, I guess, something to think about. A tale of two communities. This is a little bit of a demonstration. So there's two different groups. Group A has a lot of cool, popular people. It is a large, popular community, and they have exclusive and exciting events. They also tend to be a little bit less tolerant of who gets in, and it's a drama magnet. Then Group B is uncool. It's less cool. It is, there's no big names in there. It's a small, private community. It is more tolerant and more open, more accepting, but it's just small. And the things that they do, many other groups already do, but they've been drama-free for years. Which group sounds cooler?
B.
How many people say it's Group A? How many people say it's Group B? Okay, like everyone raised their hand for Group B. So I said, which group sounds cooler? Which group would you rather join? Now, the funny thing is, I noticed when I write it like this, it's so obvious that Group B is cooler. But so many people try to join Group A thinking that Group A is the coolest group ever. There's people they've never met before in that group. There's so many things they do, but then they fall back on what they accept and who they accept. And then that in turn falls back on the furry fandom being divided and people not being treated with respect. And it becomes a lot less cool. I have seen this so many times in VR chat. It's unbelievable. There's Group A, it's filled with cool people. They don't really act cool. It's just the perception. And then a Group B forms with people who are a lot less cool, but then the group as a whole is actually a much more inviting, much more welcoming group. So you define what cool means. What's not cool? Okay, lies and manipulation. I'm sure we've all seen a lot of that. Bullying is not cool. One-upmanship is not cool. Mood swings, also not cool. Something else that's not cool? Well, so first of all, on those four, according to Dr. Ruth, that comes from identity loss and confusion and intolerance. So people don't really, they struggle to come to their own identity, and then in that struggle, they start to attack others. They haven't fully accepted or realized themselves. I'm sure many of us in the furry community will know the troll who's just like, oh, ew, furries, you're furries, 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 and then eventually they become one. Yeah, it's an identity lost, or it's confusion, and that is how it expresses themselves. It comes in the form of harm. Bystanding is also not cool. So stepping back a little bit and just watching people get harmed in front of you, you don't want to take part of it. You don't want to have any involvement with it whatsoever. You just want the thing to happen without you. It seems cool for many when that happens. It allows the group to continue functioning the way it does, doing what they do, but it can amplify the harm. Something else, moderation. Insufficient moderation, members harm each other, and then the group just lets it happen. Another thing that happens, overbearing moderation. You get a book this big that you have to read, the Lord of the Rings book on the rules, and if you don't follow those rules, then you will get reprimanded according to the rules, which if you look in the chapters and the sections, you'll find out how you get reprimanded. Yeah, that's not a very welcoming community either. The mods harm the community. So Dr. Ruth said, in furry and VR communities, conflict often shows up not as cruelty, but as disconnection, a loss of rhythm with self and others. Ghosting, sarcasm, drama, control, they're signs that safety has frayed, not that people are beyond repair. What rebuilds rhythm is relational courage, honesty that's kind, boundaries that aren't walls, values shared without weaponizing them. Real connection doesn't mean we always agree. It means we keep showing up even after things break. And sometimes the bridge that matters most is the one we build again. Powerful. That is Dr. Ruth Diaz, who had worked on the Troll Project. She has a PsyD in clinical psychology. She is the Bridge Makers founder and core leader and a community designer. Absolutely impressive resume, absolutely impressive education, and a wonderful human being. So let's fix some of these problems, all right? Okay, becoming cool. The uncool behavior, lies, manipulation. The reframe redirect to that is honesty. A good practice or inner prompt practice. Am I avoiding vulnerability? Okay, uncool behavior, bullying. Reframe and redirect, compassion and boundaries. And the practice or inner prompt, what part of me is hurting that wants to control or dominate? One-upmanship. Let's reframe it to mutual respect and humility. What am I afraid I'll lose if I'm not the best? Mood swings, redirected to self-awareness and grounding. What's my nervous system needing right now? Bystanding, courage and allyship. Is my silence making someone else feel more alone? Saying I'm uncomfortable right now sometimes is a way to start a new conversation. Okay, insufficient moderation. Community care and responsive boundaries are a good reframe, redirect. Are we letting harm repeat because we don't want discomfort? And then overbearing moderation needs trust building and listening. Are we protecting people, or are we protecting our image of control? Powerful stuff. I think I had this idea of what it was like to be cool when I was in, middle school. I'm like, oh yeah, drinking with the guys, that's cool. Doing drugs is cool. Yeah, really cool. And now I think it's kind of, that doesn't have anything to do with being cool at all. Being cool means you're a cool person. It means you're cool with others. And then all of this is not cool. Taking those things that aren't cool and then redirecting to something that is, something that makes you more compatible with others and makes others more compatible with you, that is awesome. It is hard. It is not always possible. It's not always doable. But we should at least try. What is cool? Listening with an open heart. Learning with curiosity. Speaking with kindness. And being there for others. I've heard so much time people say, oh, they're popufers. Oh yeah, no, ew. People don't like that label. But popular people are loved for a reason. It's because they're cool with a lot of people. So I wrote here the 3 pillars of socializing. We have empathy, which builds bridges with others. We have integrity, which maintains those bridges you build. And then we have tolerance, which allows you to build even more bridges. So let's move on, first of all, to empathy. Now, the people you meet will challenge and change you. But with empathy, you can connect, learn, and grow. Without empathy, you won't. Empathy is a basic requirement so that you can be able to connect and emotionally resonate with someone else. And if you struggle doing that, then it might be a bigger challenge for you. But you have to try to connect and understand with what others are feeling and why they're feeling it. So to build empathy towards others, share deeply and connect with people. Try to reach people you normally wouldn't. Ask questions and reserve judgment. Aim to understand who they are, what they are, why they're saying that. Help others on their journey to learn and grow. Moving on to integrity. Your honesty, sincerity, and honor equals your social currency. So joking and insincere cultures try to replace pain with pleasure. It avoids conflict, it's temporary, and it's unreliable. We kind of sometimes joke with our friends a lot, and then that's obviously fine to do every now and then. That's fine to do quite a bit, but then it gets past a point where it's like that's all you can do. Where if you get to the point where you can't even talk about things that need discussing, then that community, that relationship starts to frail. Sincerity acknowledges and addresses pain. It shows care, kindness, and deep understanding. And these bonds build much stronger. A friend that you can share something really deep with them, and they still are your friend afterwards, that is a real friend. That is a real cool friend. So to build integrity in your culture and in yourself, the first thing you need to know is that people are fallible and prone to mistakes. You need to appreciate, respect, and value others. You can have fun, absolutely, but not at others' expense. And then moving on to the biggest one and the one that I love to talk about the most, tolerance. Who and what you tolerate equals the number of worlds and players unlocked. You know, it's kind of interesting to think of like VR chat as a game. It's a social platform, but when you think of it as a game, yeah, tolerance is all your keys to unlocking more of the world. So here's a bunch of amazing demographics from First Science. There is a ton of things on this slide, including some things that I had no idea about. So 11% of the fandom is pagan / Wiccan. I had no idea. 24% of the fandom is Christian. 80% of the fandom leans left, which leaves 20% of the fandom leaning right. This was taken a few years ago, so I don't know if that's still true today, but yeah, these are the latest statistics. 10% of the fandom is ace. 27% is bi. Let's see, what else we got here? 19% is Therian / otherkin, so Therians believe that they themselves are an animal. 19% of people reported themselves as that. 15% of the fandom is trans. And then 19% of the fandom is non-binary, genderqueer, or gender fluid. So, and there's some overlap there. Yeah, 40 to 80% we talked about how many people are neurodivergent. 35% of the fandom has some form of mental disability. 31% report having a cognitive disability. And these are not, like, I tried to scale all the circles kind of relatively so that the bigger the circle is, obviously, the more people it affects. It's not 100%, but it's as close as I could get. I don't have enough time to talk about every single one of these circles. So we're just going to talk about these in the presentation. Let's start with neurodiversity, since we've already talked so much about it, and it is such a big portion of the fandom. Let's see if we can learn a little bit something here. Neurodivergence is a big spectrum. A lot of people are socially anxious. They have an inability to focus, ADHD in particular. They struggle with processing. They might face particular sensitivities, sensory or otherwise. People who are neurodivergent may be analytical, prone to mood swings. It affects different people differently. I really, really love this quote from Skyy Otter right here. He's wearing a shirt that says, "I've got the tism, autism." And he said, everyone is themselves in their own weird way, and that's okay. I think that's a wonderful sentiment to share. And now, we'll see if the video plays. Oh yeah, it should. A word about neurodiversity accommodation from Sabine Hossenfelder.
The neurodiversity movement has a point. Our world is built for typical people, and typical people are often not mindful of those who are less typical. In most cases, I think not so much because typical people are actively mean, but passively careless. If you're too tall or too short, too loud or too quiet or too anything really, you'll have trouble fitting in. Some people's brains don't work like yours, but that doesn't mean they are the problem. The problem might be that you're not making the necessary effort trying to understand them. Paying attention to those outside a standard deviation of the average makes their lives easier and enriches our society.
Absolutely amazing words from a physicist who covers many, many various topics on her channel. Scientific topics, that is. To help people with neurodivergence, ask people one-on-one. Learn their likes, their dislikes, their boundaries. Promote comfy, calm spaces for people with sensory sensitivities and anxiety. Let people with ADHD play with toys or have tertiary things to do. It really helps them, actually. And they're still listening to you. It's just processing a little differently. Neurodivergence can also be a very sensitive issue, and some people don't like hearing about it. But we need to be honest if we want to be helpful, and if we want to build that bridge with others. Okay, now that we've talked a little bit about talked quite a bit about neurodivergence, let's go on to gray muzzles. How many people in here are gray muzzle? What's the definition of it? I love that. So typically 40 and older, I think, would be considered great. That can come a little younger. Some people think 30.
It's 35.
35?
He's trying to tell me I'm a gray muzzle. I'm 36.
36? All right, so the oldest person in this room is 36. I saw some people who were much older here, including our guest of honor, who's definitely been around a lot longer than many of us have. So something to notice looking at the data, and this is actually a little bit of older data, but our fandom is aging. In 2011 and 2020, data from First Science showed there were about 42% of our entire fandom was aged under, like, equal to or under the age of 20. And then in 2020, that number dropped down to 20%. So that was a loss of negative 52%. And then 23 and under was 66% of the fandom in 2011. In 2020, it was only 35. So that is a drop of 47% of people 23 and under. And then only 2% of the fandom was age 39 and over. That jumped up to 12% in 2020, age 39 and over. That is a 600% increase in our much older population. Dr. Nuka was kind enough to actually show me the the uncollated data, so we can see every single age from 18 all the way up to their oldest marked age was 70. And this is all the data that he had. So there's, from 2011 in blue, you see very big spikes around 18, 19, 20, 21, and then it starts to like kind of drop off from there. And most of the fandom was very young, like 21, between 18 and 21. They are aware that there are a lot more kids who are furries through TikTok and other platforms, but they're not able to capture that data, but they are aware that that's how people initially come in when they're 18. There's a drop of 37% of people in that age group. And then there's a significant rise of adults who are between the ages of 25 and 41. That's a rise of 59% from 2011 to 2023. So that is significant. A lot of our fandom is becoming more and more filled with adults. And of course, there may be more kids, but the average age increased 2.6 years in the last 12 years of the fandom. So the fandom is aging. And then previously, the people over the age of 61 didn't even check a box. There were people checking boxes 65, 66, and 70 in the elderly population. So Dr. Nuka shared this hypothesis with me. It's called the scaffolding hypothesis. Also, is the TV cutting off anything for you guys? Can you read everything? All right. Furries often find the fandom during a period in their life when they're transitioning into adulthood, trying to find their way in the world, figure out the answers to the big questions in life. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I meant to do? Furries may lean on the fandom during this time, finding social support and using the fandom as a means of helping them navigate these difficult times of transition. Eventually, they find what they're looking for. At that time, we think furries don't just throw away the fandom. Instead, they stick around. They hang out with the friends they've made along the way. Even if they don't necessarily go to all the cons or fursuit as often as they used to, they still retain those friendship networks. That's from Dr. Courtney Nuka Plante, a full professor of psychology at Bishop's University and the co-founder and lead analyst of Fur Science. Oh, and by the way, the art was by Paco Panda. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, that is actually an image of Art and Biro kind of growing up a little bit as hipsters. The book that he released had them as kids, and here he's kind of showing that they're still continuing to be friends through the years. I think it's a phenomenal image for to show this, because that kind of is the fandom, right? So gray muzzles can feel dejected and disconnected from others. They can feel lonely. But at the same time, they gain great friendships, a great sense of community, and everything that we gain from the fandom. As far as disparity goes, well, I think we kind of already know what some of those are. The dated reference pools, talking about things that we have not seen and have no idea. Especially the younger you go, the more that you're going to find. People who are gray muzzles are experiencing life at a different stage, and they just fundamentally have different experiences. So there's a disconnect between what they're facing versus what someone in college right now is facing. Also, they faced it differently than people right now. Life for young people changes over the years. So people go back saying, oh, in my childhood we had this. I came from a generation that was the last generation that remembers socializing in a world without cell phones, without social media. We know what it was like to actually have to go to a friend's house because that was the only way to be with them. You had to physically be there. And there is some variances in socioeconomic levels and social awareness. But there are a lot of things that are similar between us and our older population. We both feel furry. There are people who are gray muzzles who say, I will never stop being a furry. I am a furry for life. And I think a lot of us in this room feel that way. We don't want to lose that connection. So if we want to have a fandom that respects us when we get older, we need to learn how to respect gray muzzles. And I think it's a lot easier to do that than you guys think. They're also very into geek fandom culture. We love the same things. We're both LGBTQ and neurodivergent. Everything that we are, gray muzzles are as well. We share very similar experiences. But there is something interesting that I like to talk about, senior loneliness. So there are dangers of senior loneliness and isolation. Seniors who suffer from loneliness have a 64% higher risk of dementia. Lonely seniors have a 59% higher risk of physical and mental health decline. And loneliness can be as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Kind of amazing looking at the numbers like that. Yeah. So who would think that it was better to smoke cigarettes than to be lonely as a senior? I'm not endorsing, by the way, but if we can successfully integrate seniors into our communities, that leads to improved physical and mental health, reduced risk of dementia, reduced depression, and for us it means more friends. So the steps to alleviate loneliness and isolation, I thought this was funny. Give better access to transportation, work better to integrate seniors into their communities. Well, okay, but a lot of people don't really go physically to places and have communities physically at places as much anymore as they used to. A lot of our communication happens online in places like VR. The very bottom right over there says use technology to help seniors connect with others. We already saw a support group using it. The leader of that support group struggles to leave their bed. They can still socialize. They just have to do it a little differently. So here's an example of a really cool friendship, something that I think is fun, between someone who's very young, 23 years old, Cavalon right there, and someone, I'm not going to say the opposite of that. He is over 60, his name is Reo Grayfox. So Cavalon said, have you seen this guy rave? He's the life of the dance floor. I see Reo as kind of like my older brother. He cares a lot about me and shares wisdom. He's a party animal, a mentor, and a caring and supportive friend. And then Reo Grayfox said, some furs are shy and reserved. I used to work on cruise ships, so being open and socializing comes easy for me. Inside a fursuit, age doesn't really matter. And being your character allows you to put your hesitations behind you. So to connect with gray muzzles, watch old movies and learn the references. A lot of gray muzzles love Star Trek. Watch Star Trek. I mean, look at Snow White, look at Bambi, look at Robin Hood. Robin Hood is amazing, guys. You watch that, you're going to find so many different subcultures of the fandom are represented in that movie. 1980, Animal Olympics. There are so many different animals in that, and so many incredible names were attached to that project. And then, of course, we don't think of this as being a gray muzzle movie, but I'm sorry to say, guys, The Lion King came out 31 years ago. Most of the people attending this convention are older than The Lion King.
I'm 31 today.
The Lion King is as old as this gentleman right here. And then, of course, there are some newer things that gray muzzles love as well. Zootopia, Nimona, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and Beastars. Here's the funny thing. I was friends with Sylys Sable. He was 72 years old when he passed away. Right before he did, he begged us to watch Nimona. And he wanted to see that movie with us. Well, I shouldn't have said it as the word begged. He didn't really beg. He wanted us to see it. And he also wanted us to see Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So if gray muzzles are seeing the stuff that we love, and I'm seeing that quite a lot, gray muzzles always are interested in new furry media and new furry things. Like, why don't we get interested in the stuff that they watched? and get to learn some of these really cool parts of the fandom that came before we were around. Okay, and here's the last demographic group I want to talk about, I'm representing this as one because overlap helps different people in interesting ways. This is something a lot of science doesn't know because it requires deep dives, it requires understanding communities very intimately, and hearing from so many different people. Eventually, you find people within minorities of minorities, within subcultures of subcultures. And I found something incredible between people who are ABDL and people who are trans. I'm sorry? Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, ABDL, it stands for Adult Baby Diaper Lover. It's a lot of people who either like to wear diapers, IRL, or in their persona, and or be caretakers, or pretend to be babies and just kind of turn their brain off and just have fun. And then, of course, people who are trans are people who fundamentally feel inside that they belong to a different gender. Something I've heard a lot about people who are trans, from people who are trans, they look in the mirror and they don't like what they see. They wish that they were a different gender, and they feel that way. We know gender is more complex than just male-female. We know that. We are in a community filled with people who are non-binary, gender non-binary. And here's one amazing testimonial I heard from Speedybaby. The baby fur community helped me discover my true self as a trans female. While relaxing with one of my caretakers, they called me princess and made me feel amazing. When another person was selling a used partial suit with a badge and a pacifier, I bought it and named her Sophie to explore my trans side. My data has helped a lot with trying to find trans care for me this year. I found friends in a community that helped me figure out how to change my legal name. The best thing about being trans as a baby fur is it gives me the chance to relive my life as my true self. For people who are trans, they grew up being a kid saying you can only be this, you cannot be anything else. And then for the first time, they're realizing, well, their whole life was they were living a lie. They weren't allowed to live the person they wanted to be. And so many people in the ABDL community tell me they are able to relive the childhood that they never had. And this has given them a wonderful opportunity, especially trans people in this community, to have the childhood that they always dreamed of, where they can be around other people who are accepting of them for who they are. So yeah, normies have documented the furry fandom in VR. We saw it. We saw it. And yeah.
When?
Yeah, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I don't even know who was in it. Do you guys have any idea who was in it? Who was in the document? So, oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So from left to right is Joe Hunting, which you didn't see Joe in the movie. He was the man behind the camera, as well as Max Films VR on the opposite side. But what you did see was FbTOtter right there. Woo! If you are a FbTOtter, raise your hand.
That's me.
You have a doppelganger. All right, if you're not FbTOtter, raise your hand. Wow, some of you are nobody. You didn't raise your hand. You are neither. You do not exist. So, yeah, I have a couple films from Joe Hunting here. We met in virtual reality and The Reality of Hope. Both of them were accepted in Sundance. He was the 2022 nominee for World Cinema in the documentary We Met in Virtual Reality. And in 2025, he was a nominee for Best Short Film, The Reality of Hope. Best Short Film. So he said, the experience of growing friendships in respect to virtual and physical selves filled me with so much gratitude. After making the film We Met in Virtual Reality, Max Wilson introduced me to Hiyu and FbTOtter's story. I got excited to express how significant online friendships can become, raise awareness around kidney failure in young people, and represent the broader VR furry community. Their resilient kindness gave me strength that I felt would certainly reach others. I believe stories about people building inclusive safe spaces on the internet can remain incredibly valuable for nurturing an optimistic future for immersive technology. Kind of incredible to hear that from Joe Hunting. So to build tolerance, you must accept yourself, truly. You must explore, reach, and learn from others. You must avoid prejudice over things you don't understand, reject the cycle of hatred, and recognize the furry in everyone. Misconceptions drive divisions, so aim to learn and connect. Cheat codes. Are there any cheat codes to VR chat? If you want to win at VR chat, how do you cheat around this? Well, if you have a custom avatar, you have good technology, that does increase your visual appeal, but you need a personality. People enjoy who you are, not what you are. There are no shortcuts and only one life. Your experience depends entirely on you, and this may be scary. In social VR, you may feel alone, afraid, out of place, intimidated, trapped, or even angry. But you may also feel surprised, elated, loved, inspired. And yeah, you may feel that too. A little naughty. You'll feel everything. I actually have a map here adopted from the dot model, or just rather is from the dot model from Dr. Ruth Diaz. On two axes. One axis, you get more elated as you go higher, you become overjoyed. So you start, and on the left and the right, is kind of your excitement. So whether you feel tired, like calmed, or you feel alert and stimulated. So going up to the left, you feel amused, you feel mesmerized, you feel tranquil, eventually reaching nirvana. Buddhists described it as the ultimate state of enlightenment. But we can't really stay in there all the time, can we? We're too human for that. Going the other way, you can be, on the more stimulating side, you can be intrigued, you can be engaged, ecstatic, or astonished. And then you have the negative emotions, feeling weary, feeling despondent, feeling depressed, until you become completely catatonic. And then, being more stimulated, you might feel annoyed, anxious, angered, and frustrated, until finally reaching full-on panic and traumatization. There are so many different wonderful people in VR that I've had a great chance and great experience to meet. And we're all different. We all feel differently about different things. We all feel differently about the same thing. So how do we find the furry in each other when people are so different? The first and most important thing, we need to see each other. We need to acknowledge and share pain. We need to change our perspective. We need to break our walls. We need to love more deeply. We need to care more passionately. And we need to be furry. I love being a furry in VR chat. And I hope after this presentation, a lot of you will feel the same way. I hope to meet you there. And maybe after this presentation, we can exchange socials. But there is one person's opinion that had not been expressed this whole presentation, and that is my own. Well, here it is. In VR, so many people across great distances of the world come together in praise of our shared identities and common interests. We get help and help others. We make friends and enemies. We try to have as much fun as we can. We live out our greatest dreams and take an active role in making them. We lead each other through the heartache and the pain, and hopefully through our greatest wonders and joys. But what we learn together is what it truly means to live and be furry. This is the dream. That's my experience. What's yours? Thank you very much. Thank you. To all my furry friends and weirdos everywhere, thank you. This was the most flattering image I could take of all of them. Yes. And this is a very, very good representation of the kind of people that I really, truly enjoy. Here's a list of the testimonials. Some special thanks I'd like to give Dr. Ruth Diaz for her studies on the Troll Project, Adopt Model, Mapping Emotions, Community Leadership, and assistance with this presentation. Dr. Nuka, Courtney, Plante, and the Fur Science team, the entire team, for their furry fandom research and assistance with the demographics for this presentation. Frooxius and the Resonite supporters for actually being a furry-founded platform for VR. To VR chat subscribers, world and avatar creators, community leaders, and all the staff who support furries worldwide. My friends and everyone who makes VR an awesome place to be, and the people you saw in the trailer, M-Blade, Dr. Nino, and Rod Elevated. The world was Asteroid Field. It was created by Tauntaun Demon et al. There were several people who worked on the project. He was listed as the primary world creator. So, with that being said, are there any questions? Is your brain still squishy, or is it still trying to process what you had just seen? Sorry?
You answered it already after I raised my hand.
The answer to everything?
Yeah.
Wasn't it, what was it, 42?
Yes. You answered my question, which was about glasses. You got to it already.
Phenomenal. I'm very glad that 42 was the answer to that. Any other questions? Anything at all?
What is VR?
I actually found a quote from like the 1950s where someone was describing VR as like the virtual reality that is created on a stage, which is different from the reality of our own. It is a place where, honestly, the way he felt about it was that it was a place that was different from the world, but through those differences, we're able to highlight and focus on issues that allow us to see the world effectively, trying to boil it down in the simplest terms possible.
I'll try it sometime.
Sure, absolutely.
Maybe you can be in the documentary someday.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll get there.
Maybe one day you'll meet someone and donate your kidney to them.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Absolutely. All right. Any other questions before we go ahead and close this off? All right. Well, yes, one question.
Whenever I join VR chat, I kind of struggle to find like worlds I want to join or like communities. I guess maybe I might still be a bit confused about the platform, but like sometimes I'll search stuff and not really find it. But like I'll hear type of people talk about being in communities, and I'm just not sure exactly where to find links to them.
That's a good question. How do you find communities when you hop in and you have no idea where to start looking? So it is a little tricky at first, just trying to find all these different communities in VR. But Ferality actually has a really cool thing called New Player Nights. So if you join Ferality as a new player, they already have entire teams dedicated to helping you find others and showing you a little bit more what VR can do and how to get into it. Like, not just from a, hey, look at this cool world, but also like, hey, here's a cool community, here's a cool group. And then the more you find, the more friends you make, you can see all the groups that they're in, and you're like, oh, I like that thing. Oh, I like that thing. Oh, I like the other thing. some groups are going to be public, and you can search for them. You can just find it if there's something you're interested in. Others, you have to do a little bit of digging. But you will, through meeting many different people, eventually find that niche that you fit in. And you will find all sorts of different wonderful groups. Unfortunately, a lot of furry groups don't like to be public because then you just invite the whole world to it. They like to, people will make friends first, and then with so many friends, they're like, hey, let's do this thing. Yeah. Hey, let's do this thing like every Thursday at this time. Yeah. All right. Let's actually make a group then and talk. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how that stuff forms. I was there at the founding of Beans at Play. It was literally, he liked to play games every so often, but then, you know, decided to make it a formal thing where it's like at this time, every week, we're going to get together, we're going to play games. And then he opened his community to the world. It was, I think it is a public community. There were so many people that showed up. It was like 40 people showing up to play a game in one instance of VR chat. Kind of incredible. And that happens not just once, it happens every single week. So yeah.
And then also, like, that's the Oculus 3, right?
The Oculus? Yes, this is the Quest 3.
Quest, Oculus.
Well, Oculus, they stopped using the Oculus term. The Meta Quest 3. Meta bought Oculus, so yes, it's Meta.
I remember I've been wanting one since it was called the Oculus thing.
Yeah, the technology is better now. Be glad that you waited. Well, don't be glad that you didn't go in, but the technology is a lot better now. The original Quest 2, the resolution was a little bit less. It was harder to read things. The index, the resolution is a lot less. So reading things in VR was not so good. Now you have much better resolution, much better battery life. It's a lot easier to use. The controllers are lighter. It's also more reliable. And the experience overall is just much better, much better. And
I can use it without my laptop, or I can
you can,
It's
but
like an Android phone, like that quality, like a.
well, you can, but you're going to be limited on what worlds you can join and what people's avatars you can see. So,
How sad you are.
my laptop recently died, so.
okay, well,
It's decently acceptable, but you will have to look for worlds that say Quest compatible, like in the icon.
well, right now, yeah, it'll say Android compatible, but
Oh,
yes,
sorry, yeah, Android.
yeah. So,
I'd say in general though, there's many worlds that are Quest compatible since they really started, people really started targeting it. That's part of why Frality has had over the 20,000 people.
the most popular world is Furry Hideout. I'm actually a world, what do you call it, like a mentor, sort of, basically whenever Shadow has a question, he can just ask me and I'll give my feedback on it. And that is Quest compatible. And over 60% of his users are Questies, like standalone Quest users. So it is, but you know, my museum has so much textures and art in it that if it were to load on the headset, it would crash. So yeah, it would overload the memory, and then you have suddenly many people joining, and the memory would be overloaded, and it would not be able to handle. So, and like some of the things that people really love, Quest, you would have to render the game multiple times to get those effects working. I have like a document projector, you can read all of the old files, like if you want to see the very first discussion groups for the very first furry convention, you want to see what Sylys Sable said about furries at the very first furry convention, you want to see those fanzines from the 1970s, what furry looked like.
I had to see some of them when I went to PodCon. They had some of the old photos, and they even let me like hold it and handle it and stuff. I was like, I'm scared I'm gonna tear it on.
I was able to hold those myself as well, going to the Prancing Skill Tear, but and I have pictures of that too. That was incredible. But not everyone's going to be able to have that experience. So it is really cool that VR exists so that you can at least be able to simulate it. It is much better than those materials being lost to time. Why, like, we should all know what our founder thought and felt about this community. We should know about the furry conventions back then. We should know what furry was like back then, what it used to be. We shouldn't forget that. And I don't want that to be forgotten.
Forget what?
But this thing doesn't work with that very well. So yeah, it's not, you can absolutely get a headset, but at some point, it would be definitely worth your while to get a decent computer, even if it's a laptop, to be able to use it. All right. Hello. Hello. All right, any other questions about VR? Yes, hello.
Mine's a little more technical.
Yes.
I'm a Courtney, and I've never gotten a straight answer for this, and it's always been either one or the other. I really want to get into full body stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any company that produces them for Quest standalone. I have a laptop. It's not super strong. And I'm willing to
So, yeah, the answer to that is no. You can't use full body tracking on Quest standalone. That is a meta limitation. All of the tracking systems work through Steam, and Steam doesn't run natively on Quest.
One caveat, there are some that work with your phone. It tends not to be as good.
Oh God.
Yeah. No, they use your phone as a server.
Oh God.
No, it's not.
Oh God. Okay. If you can, there's a very sketchy, awful, hacky way to try and get that to work. I would not recommend that. If you could have, a decent, it doesn't have to be the best gaming laptop in the world nowadays. Technology is getting so good. You can get a decent gaming laptop for, it is still a little pricey, but around $800 or so, $700.
$200, I've seen them.
Yeah.
That is
I get it for
a used one?
Secondhand market's great.
Okay, a used one.
Refurbished is great.
Okay.
Really used one, actually.
So, yeah.
$250 for a beautiful.
All right. If you can find a used laptop, gaming laptop, then you can have a small laptop, maybe a little bit bigger than this, and then as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection somewhere, it can go to a Wi-Fi router. Just the laptop, the headset, ideally a charger, but just a laptop and the headset alone, and you can access all VR. So that would definitely be a much better option than trying to put a server on an Android phone and then connect.
The amount of time spent getting it to work on your phone, you can probably just think of it as if I worked for $15 an hour or whatever, it's more worthwhile to save up money.
You could go digging for treasure and eventually you will strike gold enough to be able to afford a laptop versus the time to try to get that working consistently and reliably. But yeah, no, it's not an official solution. So officially, full body tracking is not supported on Quest. They do have, however, I think hand tracking, and they're experimenting with that. I haven't been able to get it to work, but I've seen people do it. And I've even seen in desktop mode, people on the beta version of VRChat are able to move their hands and their face and eye tracking with the webcam. So the tracking technology is getting better and more accessible, but we're just not there yet. We're pretty far along, but not to the point where it just works with Quest. And that's more of a just Quest doesn't, Meta doesn't want to do that sort of thing. They could, they don't want to. They could, they don't want to.
Is it not sitting there being technical in an office? They don't want that.
Pretty much. The technology that Meta is pushing was we can replace having to travel to go to a meeting with VR. And you can just virtually exist in a convention space or in a meeting space. There are worlds in VR chat that are just effectively a whiteboard and a conference table. Yeah, and a video player. And some of you are looking at me like, well, yeah.
Usually just get a bunch of people drawing.
Funnily enough, it wasn't this presentation, but I actually gave a presentation like this before to my friends in VR by streaming it and then showing the stream through a movie world. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Any question? We have 10 more minutes before we run out of time. So it doesn't have to be related to VR. Like yes, hello.
For your museum world, is there like a certain time that you hop on there to like guide people or anything? Like,
Yes. So there's no like, we'll schedule, so I work with other people and other streamers and I'll schedule tours for different things. I know I really want to have a tour for Nice. Because he's in VR now, I would like him to be able to present this thing. I also am trying to get Paco Panda into VR, but trying to figure out challenges with Mexico and getting equipment there. It's been a challenge, but eventually I'd like people to be able to meet the artist right there so they can hear from people themselves rather than me like hearing it through me. I've heard some people say, oh, you're just making that up. It's like, no, no. And it was really cool to have Nice actually in the museum one time, presenting himself. Shy Matzy is in the museum all the time. I hop on late evenings, so like around 9, 10, I'm on until early morning hours Eastern, and that's also good for people on the West Coast.
That's me. So
That's you? All right.
I'll probably be bringing my friends for pretty much a tour.
I do have a group that watches movies every Thursday at 11 Eastern. So that is 8 Central, or not Central, I'm sorry, 8 Pacific. And it's more of a movie appreciation group. We don't really just watch furry things. I've been trying to, the whole reason that was founded was every time I talked about movies with someone, they was like, oh, Marvel movie, what's your favorite Marvel movie? And I'm like, there's so much more out there besides Marvel. And so I was able to show people some of the movies that I liked and some interesting things that they never would have seen otherwise. What We Do in the Shadows, New Zealand independent movie about vampires living in a flat. Amazing, funny movie.
Favorite movie reference?
Huh?
Favorite movie?
We watch
Favorite?
a TV show together all the time.
Favorite movies?
Yeah.
My favorite, you want my favorite movies?
No, the movie you just mentioned is my favorite.
Oh, oh, that's wonderful. Oh my gosh, yeah, if you had joined us when that happened, you would have been amazed. There was someone that I met and I told him, hey, yeah, you should totally come in VR, check out our movie group. And he's like, what movie are you showing? And I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to be seeing the 3 Flavors Cornetto. We're going to see, what is Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and he's like, oh, that's my favorite movie. I have people, there was someone who really loves Humphrey Bogart. A furry, kind of my age, loves like the old timey, black and white movies, and I'm like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Let's have an entire movie event just seeing, Casablanca, Maltese Falcon. I was gonna say No Time to Die. We just finished watching James Bond, and I'm thinking mixing that up, but yeah, people see all sorts of different things. I do show furry movies there. Sylys was there. But that's just like one other cool thing that people can do in VR. Anything else? Any other questions? Oh yeah, so to finish what you said, you can join the Virtual Furry Museum group, and if I'm giving a tour, I will blast the group and let everyone know when the tour is happening. I'll give them details and updates through VR chat. That's something else that's really cool. Their group system is phenomenal. You can join groups, get messages, receive messages, and it's pretty easy to coordinate things in there. But usually people also have like Discord and stuff. So if you guys want to connect with me, let me know and I can try to make it easy for you. All right, so if that's it, I'll go ahead and we'll just go once, going twice, going 3 times. Yeah, we just sold the end of Frontiers of VR. Woo! Thank you all so much for coming. I'll be here until they kick us out. Thank you.
Who are you?
What?
Why are we here?
What is this?
Where are we? What did we just watch?
The cold room in the corner.
What's a furry?
What's a furry? You have no idea.